Hey guys, so I know it's been a minute since I've done a video like this where I'm just kind of putting around on the trials bike and kind of talking, but here I am. It's been forever since I've been really on this bike. I mean, I've ridden it a couple times since getting it back together, but both times it was really like just for a few minutes before dark or something. So, what all did I do to this bike? So I rebuilt the forks, which is just new bushings, pretty easy. New seals, dust seals, and all that good stuff. Whole new aftermarket rear shock on there. This was so dry, I couldn't even wheelie in it, or so wet. It's like ice, dude. Oh, I could wheelie that time. Ah, the bike's got a lot more punch. Okay, so entire new aftermarket rear shock. The old rear shock was blown out beyond repair, pretty much. I also tuned the carburetor, and by that I mean I just moved the needle. I moved the needle down one notch to try to lean it out a bit, because I don't like how slow the rev on this bike is. I noticed a lot of newer trials bikes have a pretty fast rev. Maybe it depends on the bike. Let me know. But this one, it's not terrible now, but it could still be better. And part of it maybe I'm used to the dirt bike. But I really think having a fast revving engine, and I'm not just talking about throttle response. Of course, throttle response is important too, but just how fast that engine winds up for hitting bigger obstacles and things really makes a big difference. So I think fast revving is a lot better. If you have a slower revving bike like this one, it seems like you have to really kind of ride the clutch a lot more. Keep the revs up before approach or on approach to obstacles. And it is cold out here, and I also am running a 50-to-1 mix, which I didn't think mattered, but after going to the trials training event with Ryan Young, there were some guys talking about mix rates or mix ratios there, and it sounds like it actually does kind of matter. Like there's a guy that had really good results by switching to a leaner, or that'd be richer, to a richer mix from like say 50-to-1 to say 80 or 100-to-1. Ah, had to dab there. It's not like normal mud. It is really slick right there, but it's not as bad as it was the other day. The other day I couldn't even do a wheelie. I don't know how those Brits do it. So, my problem with the double blip is I learned the jab zap first. And I keep wanting to do a jab zap from, body positioning to jumping, and even where you start the wheelie. Like, don't blip. You just go super close. Pre-rev it, and kind of anticipate the hit. And it doesn't really matter so much the front wheel, as long as you kind of get the whole point is to clear the skid plate, right? And it's almost like what I see the pros doing is they're not doing two distinct blips like that. They're doing kind of more of a continuous blip, almost a sort of a splatter, but not really. You're literally just rolling up it. The goal is to drive with the double blip, not the jab zap. The goal is to drive the rear wheel in hard and use the suspension rebound to bounce you to the top. So you keep the throttle on until it hits. And super muddy. But you also start the wheelie a lot closer like, notice I'm almost rolling into it. So I'm definitely starting to wheelie less than the height of the obstacle. And just training to keep that throttle on rather than getting off the throttle like you would with the jab zap. That's another problem I'm having, is I'm getting off the throttle too soon. Trials boots I tried, I think we're an Alpine Star, and they had a pretty good protection, I felt like, which was one of my concerns about going for trials boots. No dab, at least. Pretty wide though. That was one concern, is just the lack of foot protection, but I think it was plenty sufficient. And my foot slipped off the peg again. That's the other thing. I need to sharpen these pegs, and dirt bike boots, when doing floating to floater turns on slippery pegs, isn't really ideal. Okay, that was a weird floater, but if I committed and stabbed the rear brake, I could have made that into a 180 pretty easy. Alright fellas, I was not having any success on this log using traditional techniques, meaning the double blip. I didn't even try the jab zap because I know that's way too high for me to lift a bike and make it to the top. Jab zap isn't really great for really high stuff, because you're relying on lifting your bike that whatever height the obstacle is. So if you can't lift your bike high enough to make it to the top of that, jab zap's going to be pretty tough. That's where the double blip comes in. The double blip is good for getting up higher stuff, as long as it's not undercut. So this is where the splat comes in, because I was not able to get up this thing with just double blip. The splat, I think my problem was mostly traction. It's really muddy here. The splat is generally easier to do. It's just fucking scary. It's just a matter of commitment.